I'd like to call this, this is the Cortez City Council regular meeting. It's Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022, and the time is 7:30 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance, so please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. The listings under consent agenda is a group of items to be acted on with a single motion and vote. This agenda is designed to expedite the handling of limited routine matters by City Council. Either the public or a City Council member may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda at this time prior to Council's vote. The mayor will ask if a citizen or council member wishes to have any specific item removed from the consent agenda for discussion. Does anyone? No. What would you like?
I would like to remove number 3, citizen participation. 6 citizens will be allotted time to address council, amending it to unlimited amount of citizens to address the council this evening.
Okay, well, you can save that for your time of public comment.
It's not in the consent agenda.
Yeah.
It's the payment of bills and the liquor license renewals. That's the consent agenda piece.
Okay, A, approval of the minutes for the work session and regular council meeting held on February 8th, 2022. B, expenditure list for February 2022, the city council meeting. C, approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for Rodowski Unlimited LLC, doing business as Rodowski Unlimited, located at 2310 East Empire Street, Cortez. And D, approval of a renewal hotel and restaurant liquor license for the Farm Bistro Cortez LLC, doing business as the Farm Bistro, located at 34 West Main Street, Cortez.
Ms. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Kiefhofer. Aye. Lucero.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Okay, next we will move on to citizen participation. 6 citizens will be allotted time to address council. No member of the public shall comment more than once at any meeting, nor shall any person be seated the time of another commenter. Comments may be limited to 4 minutes per person, so please comment on items not listed as public hearings in our agenda. Council may or may not respond to comments. Thank you. And please start with your name and address.
Mindy Nelson wrote in, first off, I'd like to say only 6 voices of this community can speak. No one has been showing up to meetings. There is not structure, there's government control. What are we preparing for? We are here to bring our First Amendment back to unlimited voices at the beginning of the meeting. The fastest way to tyranny is to ignore our constituents. I'm also here to let everyone know what a letdown Mike Levy has been to this community. We have done core reports on his emails, and it has been very biased in his political position and not representing the whole community. Mike Levy has blind copied in almost all of his soldiers' emails, setting up strategy to go after the patriots. It shows he was colluding with Black Lives Matter 10 days before Raleigh Cato did the police report against some patriots. I've written 2 emails, September 28th and December 14th. I sent them both December 14th, asking him to resign. And he even replied, there are no core report. This proof shows these people are scrapping information. We also have proof that he wrote the rest of the council wanting to not open the chambers till after Inauguration Day. This again, for about the 6th time, has gone against the Sunshine Law. It stated he needed to step outside his boundary to bring in a mediator. He was asked numerous of times to show up at the Patriot gatherings on Saturday morning at the U Cafe to see what we do. Neither he nor any of the council ever showed up. Instead, he reported back to Black Lives Matter to let them know that he will be in the area to document. Being a veteran himself, in one of his emails, there's a photo he took from inside his vehicle of a military truck with the subject hate. Why is he even marching and hanging out at the St. Barnabas Episcopal Church? He said he couldn't stomach the division, although we have photos of him on Main Street standing next to who seems to be his wife, posturing in an iron fist and holding a manufacturing Black Lives Matter sign in which he probably paid for. It started out as chapter-based, member-led organization. Mission was to build local power and to intervene when violence, which was inflicted on black communities. First off, this isn't a black community. Intervene by calling law enforcement every weekend. The website stated that BLM disrupts nuclear family structure. BLM fosters queer network, tethering kids away from God. The Democratic Party is trying to change a red county to blue. There are photos with his name being on the platinum list of the Democratic Party. There's proof that he's arranged a full page of free press benefiting the Democratic Party. There's proof that he has hand-delivered 25 applications of his favorite businesses to the CARES grant. There's a recording proving that he's perched on the stand as a witness in court, as he really can't remember, and if he can't, then he is not fit for this position. He said that he truly wanted all is for Cortez to go back to the way it was before. The only answer is this for you, Mike Levy, is to pull out that resignation letter out of your folder and hit the road. And for you, David Rainey, you stated early on you refused to shop in Cortez because some refused to wear a mask. You made comments about wanting better air handling system in a new building, which will cost a lot of tax dollars. I see you wearing a mask outside. This tells me you ain't happy with the quality of air out there either. David, you had the nerve to ask again for a public meeting to be hybrid. Let's remind everybody that you also support Black Lives Matter, Marxist radical left-wing ideology in which they don't care about the blacks. It's just about the money donations. We must get someone in here that will represent our whole community. David Rainey, you are despicable. You need to resign. Adios, or is that being racist?
Next commenter. Name and address, thank you.
Vicki Broderick, County Road N. I want to give you a little history about the BLM, or Peace and Justice. Susan Rosenberg was in part an organizer of BLM, Black Lives Matter, and in the 1980s, Susan Rosenberg was in the Weather Underground and May 19th organizations. These two organizations bombed the Capitol building, an FBI office, Israeli aircraft industry, and South African consulate. The Capitol building alone cost over $1 million in damages. President Clinton released her from jail after only 18 years of a 56-year sentence, and President Obama pardoned her. At the time of Trayvon Martin killing during Obama years, they resurfaced as BLM. Their mission statement was to take down capitalism, ruin the family unit, promote the LGBT community. They are anti-God. The past few years, they have changed their mission statement numerous times to portray a more peaceful, friendly organization. Yet the peaceful riots of 2020 that caused $1 to $2 billion in insurance claims alone killed up to 25 people and tore down 176 statues in 6 months. I would like to know why they are in this mostly white community. What have they done to help our community? They have caused a lot of division. It's disturbing to see our mayor promote a Marxist group. Mayor Levy said he never stood or walked with BLM, yet we have emails and pictures of him doing both. Their signs didn't say peace and justice. They were Black Lives Matter manufactured signs. I want to tell you what a Marxist is. It is an anti-capitalist politician, an economic theory of Karl Marx. They advocate communism and socialism. A patriot, however, is a person who is devoted to and ready to support and defend his or her country. The patriots here have been given a very bad name by the media and our newspaper. They say nothing of the good they do. The patriots reach out to the veterans, the law enforcement, and the children of this community. To me, that's commendable. I also want to let you know that, lastly, out of the 6 patriots who were charged with harassment charge when Sherry Simmons was, my husband was one of those. Mr. Jeremiah Jones called my husband and told him that there was an overwhelming evidence against them, that it would be a long and time-consuming effort to fight this charge. Evidently, 5 out of 6 were told that. The diversion was a much easier for you all. They just paid the fine. My husband is 71 years old. He has stage 4 prostate cancer. He doesn't need the stress nor the loss of quality time to fight this. So 5 out of 6 caved to the system. Lo and behold, as we all knew, Sherry Simmons is innocent. There was no harassment. Does this make it right for the other 5 who paid their fine and said they were guilty to get out of a year-long wait for trial? I think the DA owes Sherry Simmons and all of them an apology. He tried to get rid of Sherry Simmons' First Amendment rights and take God out of her religion. That is a right of hers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next commenter.
So I'm Terry Hines, 2715 Golf Course Drive. Tonight you guys are going to talk about transferring a sum of $300,000 from the city and our citizens' funds to CCN, the fiber network. I sat up here in front of Mike Green and Karen Sheik, and they told me that that was a for-profit business. So I'm wondering why the citizens it would be necessary for the citizens to fund a for-profit. I'm a for-profit. I have a budget. I make sure that I make my budget, and when I submit my budget and ask for funds from my board of directors, I have a business plan. If you do not have a business plan today for the repayment of that for a promissory note, I would suggest that you vote no, or it would be irresponsible with our tax dollars. Now, I've seen some of that going on in these other cities, and I think Drew and I had a conversation about Utopia, which is a failed city fiber network. I can cite about 10 Google networks that they started and ended up abandoning because they didn't understand the business. And with that said, you guys, said, oh, vote us in so we can be a competitor. You haven't grown the business in over 3.5 years. With that said, I've exponentially grown mine, and I've figured out how to do it with a profit. The reason that I talked to you about the profit before was you raised the rates for the CLEX and ISP users, but I noticed that your own customers, you didn't raise those rates as well. You doubled my rates. With that said, then you gave me a 1-year contract or a month-to-month contract, and I'm one of the oldest businesses in Montezuma County. Is that really how you want to treat your local businesses? Well, tonight, I would suggest that you tell CCN to figure out how to fund it themselves and not use our taxpayer monies for a system that hasn't made any money, per Mike Green and Karen Sheik. So I would really ask you guys to really look at that business and either figure out how to streamline it or sell it. So anyway, that's all I have, but I sure appreciate it. And, for some of the people that come up here and talk in front of you, please make sure you understand what the real facts are. I've seen and read so much of that stuff on Facebook that are blatant lies. I did corner some trash collectors this morning as I was going through my driveway, and what was portrayed on Facebook was not true to their admission. With that said, get your facts. You have a story to tell the right one. And you owe it to us as a community as well. Getting people stirred up for no reason is not the way to go. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Berger, Road 29. As usual, I speak for myself. I didn't consult with anybody else prior. I highly respect the city manager for the public statement and proof that a governmental institution cannot run a business successfully. Thank you. The citizens of Cortez are listening. We understand that the city council, for allowing transparency, it's not easy to admit failure and initiate change. I am talking about the refuse department, the trash removal that has been successfully provided by the city of Cortez for 20 years or even longer. But The city manager admitted we cannot do it anymore. We cannot afford new trucks. We didn't care early enough to set money aside for repairs. Yes, it is sad for all the people that may have to adjust to a different job, that have been employees to the city, but I think it's a great statement to take government out of private enterprises. We do have a local trash removal here, and we do have waste management. I am not a friend of waste management. I do not want the city to be in a position like we are with the airport and the new airlines that are changing every year and bringing in new competition for nothing every year. I think that when the city manager admitted that it is not feasible for the city to successfully run trash removal, which we are all obligated to participate in, that means that even though the city had the benefit of not paying sales tax, which waste management and countryside have to pay to the city, there must be a mismanagement that has been going on for a long time, unknown and not put on the table. Now it's blamed on workmen's comp. I do know how hard during the COVID time the people actually running the trucks and removing the trash have been working and trying to keep up with the services. And the city, I was told that they bring in untrained people to run the trucks because of COVID and COVID-sick employees. Every private enterprise has to take care of that prior. The city was not prepared for it. So no wonder that workmen's comp cases may have gone up. There are enterprises that are way more difficult and way more exposed to workmen comps cases like Empire Electric, for example. So there should not have been, with proper training, any increase on workmen's comp. So thank you for the city manager to bring that up. And yes, I am fully for private enterprises versus governmentally run facilities. Sorry for you guys. I know you worked hard. I know that there will still be a supervision necessary by you, because who is paying the bill? Who is collecting the money? Most likely the city. So instead of having 8 people, maybe there will still be 1 or 2 employed. We will get additionally sales tax that we didn't get prior. So I just think that it is a very difficult situation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sean Sanders. I live on H.6 here in Cortez. I actually used to live inside of city limits, and I will say to the refuse department, to the trash collectors, I appreciate everything you guys do. As somebody who would forget that trash day was Thursday where I lived and be running out the door with 5 bags in my hand, and for you guys to come down the driveway to help me carry them up, that meant a lot to me. What I think the city should do is figure out a way to streamline the business. We've seen the city try to make a business or an enterprise out of like the CCN, where it's poorly mismanaged. The business started off with the idea of providing fiber optic internet to residential homes. Can anyone in this room honestly say they have fiber internet to their residential home? Not one. Can anyone in Cortez say that they have it? Probably not. The trash service needs to be streamlined. You guys, 4 years ago, if I remember right, it's 2018, the city council voted to increase the mill levy for the refuse department. You guys increased it 8%. Can't tell me it's not profitable. I paid $48.63. I looked at my last bill before I came here when I lived in city limits, $48.63. That was sanitation, or that was, sorry, not sanitation, that was water and trash service. You can't tell me it's not profitable. You just can't. Yeah, granted, you guys might be forking out more money because, like was brought up earlier, you did not set aside money for maintenance of these vehicles. But these are people's lives. If you guys sell this business, if you guys even think about selling it, and you're gonna misplace all these workers, where are they gonna go? You're gonna literally lay off an entire department if you guys sell it, if you guys get rid of it. I think you really need to take a hard, long look at the refuse department and look and see how you can make it profitable without gouging people in the city limits on the price for trash service. That's just about as easy as it can get. Even if that means you have to appoint an independent council, independent of yourselves, independent of the city manager, independent of the city attorney, a 100% citizen-based independent council to really review the financials on it and see how they can make it profitable. See how the city can make it profitable. I think that's the way you guys should go instead of looking to sell it, because honestly, that's a scapegoat. Selling it, you're getting rid of an issue that you can fix now. And if you do sell it, what are you going to do with the mill levy? Citizens still have to pay taxes on it. And with that, thank you.
So we have time for one more commentary. Are you, okay, ready?
I am. Sherry Simmons Lewis. I'll begin my time in prayer. Almighty Holy God, we welcome you here tonight. Thank you for going before us. Thank you for fighting our battles. Thank you for the victory in Christ our Lord. We praise your holy name as it brings everything hidden in darkness to light. In the name of Jesus Christ our King, amen. I recently received Colorado Open Record Act requests on emails within this council. The records that I received have solidified much of what I suspected. There is a great concern of the evidence showing that there has been tampering of public records. Whether this is from Linda Smith, the custodian of records, the technical department of the council, the city attorney Mike Green, who thumbs through them, or the mayor himself. I will continue on my quest, and I want to remind the council that I am not the least bit intimidated or hindered to take each person complicit in this to court. I also draw attention to the Colorado Criminal Code 18-8-610 concerning destroying, mutilating, concealing, removal, and altering these records or the availability thereof. In these emails, I have discovered collusion with the mayor, council members, and the Cortez Police Department. They find, and I quote these words, to find a strategy to deal with the patriots. These emails and these complaints went on between January 2nd and January 12th, 10 days before Raleigh Cato even filed her complaint with the police department. Also in these emails, so the Sunshine Law violations with conversations about let's talk on the phone or let's discuss this outside of the camera view. Emails have also been disclosed to connect between the mayor and local businesses who emailed complaints against the patriots and the mayor hand-delivering applications for the CARE Act grants to these very businesses all in the same time frame. Mayor Levy, did he handpick 25 of these businesses to receive the grant money? Were these businesses Black Lives Matter supporters, Democrats, or personal acquaintances? I personally know many conservative-owned businesses, including my own, who were never contacted or visited by the mayor. And again, I will be requesting the records on this. Council, please take a close look at the photographs in front of you of these Army veteran trucks and this Army veteran. This is Sergeant Bill Robeson. He's displaying American flags. Mayor Levy photographed this and he emailed it to himself and he labeled it, and I quote, hate. Hate. Mayor Levy, I'm sure that you're listening. You have targeted this man, and I want you to know that this veteran passed away in November. You emailed others stating that you met with BLM Marchets and Patriots on numerous times. You never did. Although we asked you repeatedly, you never met with us once. You are either lying or confused. Either one makes you unfit to hold office. I'm going to jump to the bottom of here, but I have a whole lot more lies I could cover. I want you to dust off that resignation letter that you have in your drawer and hand it in. And I close with reminding everyone here that tonight that we will not stop into digging into the bias, corrupt, self-righteousness, unlawful behavior of this council and the city employees. We the people are watching, and you need to remember the chain of command. Almighty God, we the people, the government.
All right, we will move on with our agenda. There are no presentations, no public hearings. We'll move on to unfinished business. 6A is ordinance number 1298, Series 2022. Council will consider approving the first reading, repealing Section 9-61 of the Code of the City of Cortez and thereby removing authority from the city to collect tax dollars under this section and set for public hearing.
Yeah, good evening, Mayor and Council. Drew Sanders, City Manager. So what this is a piece of the use tax. So essentially what the use tax is a way that the city and many cities like us collect a sales tax on construction materials. Under the city code for this and a prior ordinance, we discovered that there also is a piece in there where it was authorized that construction equipment that's valued over $2,500 should also be taxed. Our research showed that we don't collect that. We haven't collected it in recent memory. We don't rely on that tax at all, obviously. So what we're doing is coming to council and asking for you to repeal that and essentially removing that taxing authority from us. It's, so that it's done. It's a good way for us to show good faith.
Any questions?
I just thought about the fact that there might be other use taxes that are out there that we aren't utilizing, or they're underutilized. Is that the case? Does anybody know if there are any other use taxes?
Not that I'm aware of. Having gone through the entire code. So we still do use the use tax on just construction materials. Now, I presented on this, I believe, 2 weeks ago, and at that time, we showed that, yes, Cortez does that. However, our rate is a little bit lower than other Western Slope cities, and how we go about it, we're a little cheaper than others, but we still do rely on that.
Ms. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve on first reading ordinance number 1298, Series 2022, repealing Section 9-61 of the Code of the City of Cortez, removing the authority from the city to collect tax dollars under this section, and set a public hearing for March 8th.
Second.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, we'll move on to new business. Department of Transportation selection of new airline services. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, residents, Cortez and Montezuma County. I want to thank everybody for being here. It's good to see all this engagement in the community. So tonight, following Southern Airways presentation and the 8th of February's presentation of Denver Air Connection, I am asking council to approve a resolution asking the mayor to sign a letter of a recommendation to the DOT of the preferred airline that we'd like to get in here. And as for background, the request for proposal for the airline service had closed on the 20th of January. 3 airlines put in on that RFP. One was disqualified and was actually the highest subsidy of almost $7 million. Due to their commuter certificate not being legitimate, they were dropped by the DOT. So we were left looking at Denver Air Connection and Southern Airways. So as such, we've had several weeks to review. The 28th is the deadline for us to submit a recommendation that ideally is discussed by council, and we need to, again, authorize the mayor to sign that letter and submit it by the 28th, along with letters from the county that we will receive and submit to the DOT, as well as other stakeholders in the community, such as the Cortez Retail Enhancement, Mesa Verde Country, several business owners, hospital administrator, and so forth. The community input weighs very heavily on this decision by the DOT. Now, the subsidy, as Southern very well pointed out, is a determining factor, and there's a big difference in the subsidy. However, there are several numbers that go into that, and what I want the community to understand is that this $1 million worth of subsidy per year is paid by user fees and overflight fees of international flights. We do not pay this subsidy to the airline. We actually benefit from the airline being here with landing fee revenue, fuel flow fees, terminal lease rates, ramp fees, and so forth. The FBO benefits by providing services to the airline, and obviously, in the big picture, our community benefits by having access to the transportation network via a reliable airline. So the constant change in service over between 2 and 4 year contracts has a lot to do with the reliability of that service. And we have to consider, again, we don't pay that, but we keep dealing with very unreliable services. I mean, this has been going on for close to 20 years. So if we want to set higher standards and move forth with, again, it's always going to be a little bit of a gamble. You don't know what you're getting until they're here. But we need to look at both these proposals very objectively and look at all the details. Not just the sales pitches, not just the pictures and the proposals, like the true numbers. Both of which put strong competition against each other. Very reliable services. They do very well in their communities where they're at. Some of the differences are tenure in the business. You know, one's got 25 years in the business versus between 6 and 7 years. Not the most determining factor, but we've got to take those into consideration as well. We've had turboprops for a long time. If we want to scale up, we need to have another turboprop for a while until we get our employments up so we can get access to funding. A lot of this is detailed in the workshop discussion memo, which was attached to tonight's agenda as well. And I'd be happy to go into more details on that if you guys would like. But again, the community input, the DOT is going to look at very heavily. And they may not just pick the cheaper subsidy. They may allow us to pick, what the subsidy we want. And maybe we ask for a higher term, 4 years, and take that gamble. But it's up to you guys. We need to discuss that and approve a letter to be signed to the DOT. I already went over fiscal impact. Again, we actually benefit from having the carrier here. If we can get better service, on-time performance, all those factors that we've discussed. And again, we're not paying that subsidy, the DOT does. We just, hopefully they'll award the subsidy that we request. So again, recommendation, staff recommends a resolution allowing the mayor to sign a letter of recommendation to the Department of Transportation recommending the preferred airline operator. This letter will be developed, signed, and submitted by the 20th of February, the closing date of public comment. So any questions? You guys, any further discussion?
You said the 20th of February. Wasn't that extended? Because that was 2 days ago.
28th.
28th. Oh,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, it was closed today. We asked for an extension to the 28th because of this meeting.
I just want to thank the county commissioners for their letter of support, and I was curious, do we have a letter of support from the Chamber of Commerce and CREA and some of those business-oriented organizations?
We will. They have time to review tonight's meeting, the agenda notes, and they will support or submit their letters by the 28th. And they're going to send them directly to the DOT. Yep.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll say, I think that there's a benefit to Denver Air having the 9-seater instead of 8 and having it 2 props. Because if we're going to meet passenger numbers in a year, it's going to be a lot easier to do that with a 9-seater than an 8-seater without having to add extra flights.
Right, and Southern has an option as well. They did mention they have a King Air that does seat 9, although, the details in our workshop memo, the 3 pages of details we went over, we looked at both sides, right? The added benefit of an aircraft, albeit it's a little bit older, the company has been operating these for a couple decades, over 2 decades. They have a lot more capability with the 2 engines, and especially for our area, having the ability to put skis, mountain bikes, rifles in a separate compartment with still a huge window of payload capacity, which contributes to a safety margin. If they have an engine failure at 8,000 feet density on a hot day, the altitude that the plane is feeling is much higher than what the airport is actually at. So if God forbid they have an engine failure, at least, you know, those aircraft generally do a lot better. It's all going to depend on pilot experience and where the aircraft is. So I mean, you could do a bunch of what-if scenarios, but if we're going to look at overall safety margins and experience with this region, capability of the aircraft, and scalability for us as an airport that relies on enterprise, you know, revenue, like a small business, and heavily rely on grant assurances that are all federal, then we need to be able to have that scalability in place. 9 seats versus 8 seats is only 1 more per aircraft. When you factor that into a year, it's over 11,200 enplanements, assuming they're on time and they haven't canceled. Versus, you know, relying on 8 seats, we barely will break 10,000 enplanements. And we don't just need that Part 139 certification for the fire truck and all those requirements that were let go several years back. We also need that as an assurance to that funding. It's not just to get jets in here, right? They brought up a good point. 34 passengers, 1 flight a day is actually less than 4 flights at 8 passengers, or at 9 seats. That's 34 versus 36. Over a year, that makes a huge difference. But again, if we are guaranteed, we've got to be able to look at the guarantee or lack thereof that the aircraft are going to be ready to go. We need to deal with what we have now, because there's a chance that they may not be in operation in several months. They're pulling out of several cities. So looking at the big picture, both are very good carriers. Absolutely. I mean, the great operations, but it's also like the right tool for the right job concept. Denver Air is, in this case, as you guys have discussed, you know, from the workshop, you know, now you've got the presentation and all the proposals over the last few weeks, community input as well. We need to look at all these factors and make a decision, a recommendation to the DOT. It doesn't guarantee we get what we want. The DOT is going to make that ultimate decision. But again, they weigh heavily on our input.
Any other comments?
Jeremy, I just wanted to say thanks for all the work that you've put in on this. It's been an impressive process where seeing how much you've kind of put together and helped our council, who are not experts on air travel, look at both of these proposals. And I think it's clear that the Denver Air Connection proposal is the stronger proposal for Cortez. As you mentioned, the DOT may choose the other one. It is cheaper for the federal government. It is significantly cheaper, but for our community, based on the mountains where we live, I think it definitely makes sense. If you look at the experience of Denver Air Connection flying here in this region, in this area, in the weather that we have, with the mountains that we have, as well as the economic development benefits for us to potentially grow the airport, and for many of the reasons that the county commissioners put in their letter as well. It really would be a benefit to this community, and I would ask for community members to reach out to the DOT as well and say that you do support this and that this is something that we need. It's something that helps the small businesses of our community to be able to reach beyond Cortez, to be able to go to meetings in other places, and to have a reliable carrier here. It keeps us from paying the tax of driving over the hill and paying for parking and driving back if you're flying out of Durango, and that's a situation we've dealt with for a long time. So I really would ask the community to reach out to the Department of Transportation and help us bring this carrier in. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, yeah, I just want to make one last comment for economic development. I think there'd be a huge benefit to being able to fly with firearms, fly with skis, fly with your bikes, so that people can come and recreate here, or people can fly out from here and go hunt and recreate other places.
All right. And the community input piece that was put together on ClearGov has gotten a lot of attention. And those comments are all going to be submitted via a document to the DOT, as well as several emails I've received. There is a lot of favor for the company that is based out of Colorado, has several years in the business, operates out of Telluride, the only airline that's certified to, and the only aircraft for airline transport. Having the Part 121 and Part 135 certificates together, awarded by the FAA for several years. I think it's hard. It's a hard decision to recommend, and again, it's the DOT's decision ultimately. But our recommendation is going to weigh heavily on that as well. So we're going to compile everything and submit it by the 28th.
Well, and I do want to thank the public for commenting on this and looking at these proposals and engaging in that, because this is a community issue and we want reliable service. So thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion on this?
Ms. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution for the mayor to sign a recommendation to the Department of Transportation for the selection of a new airline service.
Second.
And are you recommending someone in particular?
Oh, to recommend DAC.
Thank you. Yazzie?
Aye.
Kiefhoffer?
Aye.
Dobry?
Aye.
Lucero?
Aye.
Rainey?
Aye.
Medina?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, and thanks to Southern for the presentation tonight.
All right, we'll move on to the 2022 vehicle replacement bid. So we've got Rick Smith, General Services.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. We kind of have a little bit of a issue that we're trying to solve for the Cortez Police Department. On January 31st of this year, we received a notice from Ram Trucks and Morhart Murphy that they were going to cancel 2 of our vehicles that we had on order from 2021 for the police department. These units were ordered in May of 2021, and up until the 31st, they kept telling us they were going to be built and delivered. This has caused a situation within the police department. They were considering starting to double up patrolmen on vehicles so we could keep our patrolmen on the streets. And Chief Knuckles, Assistant Chief Brock, Equipment Supervisor Kramer, City Manager Sanders, and myself had several meetings. And what we come up with is we have several pickups within the rest of the city fleet that were ordered in the past few years, and they're based on special service vehicle spec, a base unit for a patrol pickup. So what we decided to do was move 2 of the units out of the other parts of the fleet and move them into the patrol so that we can make them whole for the 2 units that are not going to be delivered that were funded in 2021. So this caused a problem to replace the units that we're taking from the other departments to give to the police department. So we sent out bids and received bids on last Friday, I think it was. And these units are in stock, and they're holding them pending your vote tonight. Low bidder is Kazee Motors for a 2019 F-150, $41,000, and Kazee Motors for the second vehicle for a 2021 F-150 for $42,813. So the above purchases would be $83,813, and that's against what we had budgeted in 2021 of $120,000. I asked Chief Knuckles to come up if he had some questions on the patrol part of this equation.
I'm just going to say the vehicles that you're replacing, is this just because the other ones are wore out? So we're sticking with the pickups because they work a lot better, is that correct?
the ones we're purchasing are going to go into, one goes to Public Works and one goes to Police Administration. Those are the units that we took away to move into patrol.
So are these vehicles that Kazee has on hand right now? Okay.
They're on hold pending your decision tonight.
And then the vehicles that we would be transferring to the patrol unit and police department, how long do you think those will last? And how old are those vehicles?
I don't know what the, let me see. The one that Assistant Chief Brock was driving, so it's already at the police department. It's just the SSV, unmarked, just like the patrol pickups. I believe that's a 2019, very low mileage.
Okay.
They'll last, we've been going 6 years.
6 to 8 years.
To 8 years.
Okay, great.
They've been running about 6 to 8 years, and then we try to repurpose them to some other departments, get extra life out of them. But that's been the challenge with the economy and the vehicles and the chip shortages, is keeping the police department in their natural rotation of units.
Thank you. All right, do we have a motion on this then?
Ms. Mayor Pro Tem, I would like to make a motion to award the 2022 replacement vehicle bid to the low bidder, Kazee Motors, for both units at a total cost of $83,813.
Second.
Dobry,
Aye.
Kiefhoffer. Lucero.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to the change of ownership for Green Kiwi 4 LLC, doing business as Livewell. Presenter, Mike Green, City Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. If you remember, you did an ordinance allowing for out-of-state ownership of marijuana licenses in Cortez. Previously, was limited to only Colorado residents. This is our first out-of-state applicant. It is for Livewell, and essentially what's happening, there's a chain of LLCs that ultimately end up with an Oklahoma LLC being the licensee in this case. The state, as I understand it, has approved this application. They are merely awaiting local approval. We've done our background checks. In my understanding, there are no problems. This requires a simple motion and vote. It does not require a courtroom-style quasi-judicial hearing. And so staff is recommending approval of the change of ownership from the current ownership to the Oklahoma LLC. The book, the Bible, the whatever it was, the huge thing you got, that documents all of the ownership of these different LLCs moving it forward. The Green Kiwi owner actually will own about, I forget, 20-some% of the Oklahoma LLC. So we're not losing the management that's made a very successful business in Cortez.
Is Livewell a franchised company? I mean, they're all over Colorado.
I don't believe they're set up like a franchise. They're all owned by the same group of people. So like you could own a McDonald's, I could own a McDonald's, but no, the same group of people, is my understanding, own. Yes, there's multiple outlets in the state, but they're not a franchise. They are separate entities owned by this one LLC.
So we don't know if this is happening in other communities where Livewell exists?
It's happening in all the communities where Livewell has in the state.
That's
It's
what I
not
was
just
asking.
here.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion?
Ms. Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve the change of ownership for Green Kiwi 4 LLC DBA Livewell, located at 1819 East Main Street, Cortez.
Rainey.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Okay. We'll move on to item D, resolution number CCN 2022-1, Series 2022.
Madam Mayor Pro Tem, Council, this is sort of one memo for two operations here. One is a resolution by CCN to pay back $300,000 that was advanced to it, if I recall correctly, in January of 2021. Those monies came out of the equipment fund, and so the second part of this resolution, or the second part of this process, deals with the city amending its budget to show that that $300,000 comes out of general funds instead of the equipment fund. It was, upon reflection, as I say, it's believed that that's a better process for documenting the money and where it came from and where it should go back to instead of the equipment fund. And so as part of this two-step process, staff is recommending that you, sitting as the board of CCN, acknowledge that the CCN received $300,000 from the city general fund to the benefit of the project south of Cortez, the airport fiber, all that went on, that was approved by council, and just authorize the signing, if you will, of the promissory note. So there's a piece of paper that down the road everybody knows CCN owes this money and it needs to be paid. There are terms, I think, remember, there's an amortization schedule, so this is more of a regular transaction, what we're trying to accomplish here.
So what you're saying is they already got the $300,000 from the equipment fund, right?
That's where it originally came from, and as I recall, how it was originally framed to council when it was approved in, I think, 2021. And what we want to do now is take it out and move that so it comes from the general fund, not the equipment fund, with the ordinance amending the budget. But this resolution is CCN would be paying back the general fund, which is where the money will be coming from once you amend the budget.
Okay, so, but that $300,000 was spent when we did that extension, correct?
Yes, sir.
So why don't we just get the money to just transfer it back to the equipment fund?
Pardon?
The money, the $300,000, what if you just transfer it to the equipment fund?
That'll be put back in the balance of the equipment fund, and the balance of the general fund will show $300,000 less than it did before.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I can jump in here by a point of clarification. So last January 2021, that's when this money was requested by CCN, and it was granted. The money has since been spent, but then later on, and it was supposed to have been authorized to come from the equipment fund. But later on, as we discovered that, Kelly and I were not aware of that until very late last year. And once we discovered that, that proved problematic. And so we are trying to amend that budget, the 2021 budget, to take it out of the pot that it should have been taken out of in the first place. It's nothing the council did wrong. It's nothing anybody did wrong. It's a matter of, it should have come out of a different pot when it was authorized. So us trying to, this is we're already kind of past this. So this is just a promissory note that $300,000, no matter the pot, needs to be paid back. But the next council item is to amend the budget so it actually comes out of the pot of general fund versus the equipment fund, which is where it should have in the first place. So we're just trying to put things in order. This is merely a housekeeping matter to make sure that our books are proper and we don't have an audit problem later.
And also, just to clarify, this is to make sure that that we aren't spending taxpayer dollars as part of the CCN. It is a loan. This $300,000 is a loan to CCN and will be paid back.
It is indeed a loan, yes.
And I believe that was always the intention when we, when the 300,000 was moved to CCN. This was not a subsidy, it was meant to be paid back, was my memory.
And
so-
what is that repayment plan? I mean, is the CCN network going to be able to pay that back in a timely manner?
I'm told yes, but I can't guarantee that because I don't know. The CCN has revenues that appear to be able to make this payment. So that's my understanding. There is interest and there is
2%? 2% is the interest rate?
Yes, ma'am, there's a
Okay.
copy of the note is attached to the resolution.
I guess what's the goal of how long it'll take to pay this back?
The
Can you-
amortization schedule shows it should be paid back by 2026.
Okay.
Okay, that's the reason I was asking it, and when something on us later on the audit, that something got switched around, so, okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're trying to prevent there being problems with an audit when
Yeah.
we get to this.
It's all about fixing mistakes when we find them and making corrections and doing the right thing.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have a motion on this?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'll make a motion to approve resolution number CCN 2022-1, Series 2022, a resolution of Cortez Community Network.
Second.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Okay, we'll move on to ordinance number 1296, Series 2022.
This would be the second part of that is amending the budget to show, as Mr. Sanders explained better than I did, that we're taking it out of a different pot, and that needs to be an ordinance to amend the budget. And you would be approving at first reading the ordinance and setting it for a public hearing on March 8th. Staff recommends this. It's the other part of the correction that we need to do.
And this will have a public hearing, will always have a public comment part?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any questions? Can I have a motion on this?
Honorable Mayor Pro Tem, I move that council consider approving on first reading ordinance number 1296, Series 2022, an ordinance amending 2021 budget to show disbursement loan to Cortez Community Network from general fund and set for public hearing on March 8, 2022.
Second.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Okay, we're moving on to item F, ordinance number 1297, Series 2022. Attorney Green?
Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. Back, the city approved ordinance 1292, Series 2021, approving the purchase of a VoIP phone system. We got the ordinance passed. Staff did a good job. They got copies from people. They presented to you in good faith what they thought was supposed to happen. And we got a call from a legal department for, I think it was Avaya, but there may have also been some Ring Central involvement, and told us that that had never been approved by the corporation and that their legal department, and so they needed some changes made to it. We then started chatting with the legal department, and there's actually 3 providers to this: Ring Central, Avaya, and somebody at High Country. And in order to make this work, because it's not like you go to a dealer and you buy a Ford car and you know that that dealer is going to take care of your Ford car problems. It appears that each of these entities have their own deal with the city, their own area of expertise or whatever, and they will only cover those things that they do. So there's not one person that the city has a contract with and or remedies with. So they were submitting stuff to us up until Friday last week when we got the big stack of stuff. And so what I have been told by the legal department is that all the contracts that need to be approved have been attached to this ordinance. It's my understanding that each of the 3 entities is represented in this stack of contracts. And so recommending that we approve, or that you approve this ordinance this evening and set it for first reading. It repeals the first ordinance, which, like I say, is not the fault of staff. We send it to them and say, where's our phone system? And they said, oh, this isn't right. We need to change this. And so that's what we're doing. And so staff is recommending this change so we can get the new phone system in and installed, or rather the IT department, I'm sorry, can get the phone system in and installed. This is all on the 3 companies who I spent a lot of quality phone time with trying to discuss this. They were trying to avoid going through the ordinance procedure, but there's not really a way because you approved by ordinance agreements they didn't want to honor. So that's why we're back in front of you again. We're fixing a problem so we can move forward. And I don't think there's any change in the recommendation from staff that these are the people we want to buy from. It was the lawyers who screwed this up.
I just want to confirm with you that there's no issue with the bidding process that's created by this.
No, it's simply, it's like a group of friends coming together and saying, let's do this thing, and that's what they're doing. These companies have a relationship, which if you talk to the one company's attorney, it's very difficult to get her to explain it exactly, and that's why there's 3 separate contracts. Nobody's an agent of anybody. Nobody is owned by anybody, maybe, I don't know for sure. They're very evasive on what their legal structure is, but they want 3 separate contracts and they want this to move forward that way.
How is that going to affect like customer service that they provide to the city then?
We may have to be more direct with one of the 3, and I have to chuckle. We'll figure out whose problem it is and contact them. I think High Country is sort of kind of the starting point. They seem to have, I could be wrong, put this together, and so we'll start there. But part of it would be contacting Avaya, part of it would be contacting Ring Central, part of it would be High Country.
Okay, and so then staff is aware of that and believes they can manage that?
Ma'am, we're very much aware of this this conglomeration of contracts. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So with these many contracts, what if one says, well, that's not my part of the contract, and the other one says no, so who does? Too many contracts in my book, but what do you think?
We're going to have to figure that out. We've just terminated one contract with the people because they didn't stand by what they did. A company called, I believe it was RevCord, did some recording systems for dispatch. So we would terminate the contract and move forward. It's what's available. It's what we can get from these folks. We're not in a position where we can say we want to do it our way. Contracts are changing.
I just wondered if, with all these contracts, if there was another phone system.
Pardon, sir?
I was going to say, with all these contracts that we got to sign, agree with on it, I just wondered if there was it's too late now to go to another phone company?
I hesitate to do that simply because we approved it by ordinance at first. If you wanted to do that, you could not pass this ordinance, not approve the contracts. You have to go back and look at the bid documents and see if grounds exist to cancel the bid and put it out again for a proposal. I have been told by staff that we don't have the luxury of time. Our phone system is failing and needs replaced rather quickly. Staff spent a lot of time analyzing this, this group of providers and feel it's in the best interest of the city to move forward. They have not told me that they changed their mind about this. They're still pushing to get the system that we originally approved. It was just a paperwork screw-up.
Is there an instance where this has happened before with any other governmental agency?
I've
You're aware
not
of?
seen a three-piece contract like this in my experience. Usually there's like a Kazee Motors for Ford company. There's, a mix of entities, but one is the leader. This one, we'll get it worked out, but I think it's high country. At least when I spoke with that fellow on the phone, he would be our lead person to speak to, but we may end up dealing with each of these individual entities. This is something new to me, but every time lately contracts have been changing, all the different contracts, terminology has been changing, and so this is where we're at with these folks.
Yeah, I think we just want to make sure we know with any IT thing, things will go wrong, and we want to make sure that there is an answer of who is going to be the one to contact, that staff is comfortable that there is going to be appropriate service on this system.
As far as I can tell, by signing these contracts, we will have a start on that, and we will know who, based on how things work out and get installed and who's responsible for what, we will have the necessary accountable people.
So are these contracts for a year, or how?
It's a 3-year contract, is why we have to do an ordinance.
And then when someone makes the motion, do they need to name all 3 companies?
I believe we just need to approve the first reading of the ordinance and set it for a public hearing.
Okay, which will have a public comment period, okay. Any other questions? Okay, do I have a motion on this?
Mayor, Ms. Mayor Pro Tem, I would like to propose to approve on first reading ordinance number 1297, Series 2022, repealing ordinance number 1292, Series 2021, and replacing it with ordinance number 1297, Series 2022, approving a master services agreement with Avaya and High Country Workplace Technologies, and set for public hearing on March 8th, 2022.
Second.
Yazzie.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. All right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item G, 2022 Architectural Services for Municipal Court Professional Services Contract. General Services Director Rick Smith. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, in 2016, the city hired the firm of Reynolds Ash and Associates to design City Hall. And the 2022 budget, this year's budget, provides in the capital budget $125,000 for the construction of a jury room for the municipal court. In addition to that, we're asking City Council for the 2023 budget cycle that we also engage Reynolds Ash to do some preliminary work to develop the budget documents, or the budget to do an addition on the south wall over here into the undeveloped area. So the phase one would be $13,200. That's for the jury room design. Now that also includes for that piece, a piece from ME&E, which is a mechanical electrical engineer, to tie in that room with the existing HVAC system and electrical systems. And then phase two is just the development for the budget for 2023. So we're asking for City Council to award $19,680 to Reynolds Ash and Associates. And attached to this memo is a copy of their scope of work, our standard professional services contract, and a quick little diagram of where we're talking about within City Hall.
All right, any questions? So this $19,000 is coming out of the $125,000?
Yes.
Okay. And then, so the jury room, would that be, so they're designing it, and then would it be built this year, or?
Yes, we would use the architectural to develop the bid documents and do a bid process, and then come back to you at that point to award the construction of the project.
So you can go ahead with it.
I was gonna say the budget per part is at 125,000. Do you got any idea if that's gonna be enough, or is that too much?
We used the numbers of $250 per square foot, which I understand is the current base number when we developed the budget for 2022. That will give us an opportunity to, once we get it designed and run it through the cost estimates, we'll be able to either skinny it back or go ahead with the project as designed, but we'll be able to come in at that number as far as I know.
So my questions are kind of similar to that. So this design at $19,680 is about 15% of the total budget. As far as the other building projects and other renovation projects you've done, is that on par for about where the design costs are as part of the total project?
We haven't done a project since 2017-16 for this building, and I think the scope of the work, I couldn't say yes or no. I was trying to remember what we paid for engineering and architecturals for this building, but I thought it was in the neighborhood of about 10% for a bigger scope of work, but
yeah.
Just being honest with you, I can't, yeah.
Any other questions?
Mayor Pro Tem, I'll make a motion to approve a professional services contract with Reynolds Ash and Associates for an amount of $19,680 plus reimbursable expenses for Phase 1, design jury room addition to City Hall.
Second. Yazzie.
Aye.
Dobry.
Aye.
Kiefhoffer.
Aye.
Lucero.
Aye.
Rainey.
Aye.
Medina.
Aye. Thank you, Rick. Okay, we have no draft resolutions or ordinances. City attorney report?
Nothing.
Okay, city manager's report?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, thank you very much. So I'd just like to point out 3 items this week. First, I'd just like to give an update on the band shell project. City engineer has been in contact with the architect retained by the Friends of the Band Shell and is currently working on the design standards that will be required for the project. The city attorney and I have been working on a model agreement, which we can present to the Onward Foundation once those design standards are in hand. So we need to have those design standards so we can add that as part of the agreement. This is proving to be a very complicated project, and it's just going to take some time for the engineer to complete his design standards. Number two, I'd like to get an update on, or give an update on our current audit situation. We are very nearly complete with 2018. We are still working with the audit firm to get accurate trial balances for all funds before the project can be ruled complete. 2018 has been exceptionally difficult to deal with. Our finance director and I have agreed that we need to continue to strive to correct the trial balances so that once the 2018 audit is completed, it is done right and complete and done forever, hopefully. So far in 2018, no fraud has been detected, although an official opinion has not yet been rendered. And 2018 audit has been particularly difficult to unwind due to our ultra-high risk of fraud and other factors. So for clarification, the former employee who created our then high-risk environment was still employed by the city and was actively operating the financial software throughout 2018 and into Q1 of 2019. So we're still in that mode of ultra-high risk. Even so, our audit firm has our 2019 data, and that audit is also in progress. For context, I'd just like to point out that it took 4 years to complete the delinquent 2016 audit prior to our arrival, but it has now taken 9 months to complete 2 and start on a third. So even though we didn't create this problem, any of us in this room, we are committed to seeing this through and seeing it done right. So please be patient with us and bear with us as we go through this very painful process, but we are making progress. Number 3, I'd just like to touch on our water situation. Although we're very grateful for the snow that has fallen on our region, prior to this storm, our snowpack actually dipped below 90th percentile this past week. So although we don't have storm totals yet, this storm obviously will bolster our snowpack significantly, although certainly even if it continues to snow for the next day or so, it's still not enough to break the drought. So due to the drier weather in our or the past following weeks, or previous weeks, our water department treated 9.9 million gallons of water, which is slightly higher than normal for this time of year. And again, we kind of think for people washing cars and so on, outdoors and other things. Our water work group met last week and made plans to start educating the public early that water conservation is a must during the upcoming dry season. We are asking the community to do all they can to conserve water as we move closer towards the end of the snow season. And then Mayor Pro Tem, if you'll indulge me, I'd just like to do a quick employee highlight. This is regards to Pamela M., who is a clerk in our Cortez Municipal Court. She has been nominated by our Municipal Court Clerk, Carla Odell. Carla writes that Pam has been employed with the City of Cortez in the Municipal Court for almost 3 years. Previous to working in the Municipal Court, she was employed by the Montezuma County Detention Center as a sergeant in the jail. The work ethic and skills she learned at the detention center have proved to be an asset to her while working in a court environment. Carla notes that she is very pleased with Pam's work, especially her organizational skills. She is not interested in buying a lot of materials for a project, as she has the ingenuity to create, as an example, a filing system with what is available on hand. Pam is kind and understanding to patrons, but can be stern when needed. With all the new changes in the municipal court, most notably the addition of a new judge, Pam remains positive and shows enthusiasm about the changes. She willingly completes her work and never complains. Carla expresses gratitude for having Pam on her team and knows that she can count on her dedication to assist in running the municipal court. And she's also a very good source for Girl Scout cookies. So I'll just leave you with that. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. All right, I'll move on to the mayor's report on the workshop. Again, Region 9 was not able to make it to our workshop to do their economic outlook presentation, but I highly recommend the community listen to that when we do get the chance to have them present. We heard from Ty Rogers, the chairman of the Public Arts Board. They are redefining what the Arts Committee is doing with, sorry, let me get my notes. to support, promote, and enhance a vibrant, creative community. They're working on their organizational framework of the committee. They're going to work on outreach and create a directory of artists. Okay, and then we had a presentation from Southern Air for our consideration of the essential air service. All right, do we have any other committee reports?
Mayor Pro Tem, I was able to attend the Parks and Rec Advisory Board meeting last Friday. Creighton Wright, the new Parks and Rec director, was able to introduce himself, and we all essentially just went around the room, discussed kind of how we would like to see the work of the Parks and Rec Committee going forward. There were several mentions of the South Park, and there was also mention about better coordinating and realizing the constraints of certain projects as we go forward. So, thank you.
Thanks. Any other committee reports?
Ms. Mayor Pro Tem, I attended I guess a tabletop exercise is probably the best way to describe it, for the emergency management, emergency planning department for the county, but basically to work together with the county, the city, and all of our brother and sister agencies like the fire. The idea of a tabletop exercise like this is to work on the planning of if there is an emergency in the city, and in this exercise it happened to be a snow emergency, how the county, how the city, and these other organizations will work together. It was a successful thing, and you were there as well in your professional capacity. But yeah, that.
All right, thank you. All right, I think with that, we will adjourn. Thank you for coming. We invite you to our next meeting for public comment, and then you can also submit comments through email, and Linda can make them part of our record. Okay. Although open public periods are a traditional engagement tool, there is no legal obligation to provide such an opportunity, but I appreciate you coming here to support. I appreciate your concern, but if you have legal concerns, and then I invite you to contact the state and have that looked through. So, thank you.